Integration planning.
The time between an M&A announcement and its completion is typically called due diligence, and represents the start of integration planning. There is a growing chorus of voices from institutional and other investors calling for more rigorous due diligence. Greater justification is needed from managers for their rationale in pursuing an acquisition to overcome resistance attributable to there being managerial incentives from M&A yet low average M&A performance. Though the purpose of due diligence is not to identify reasons to abandon an acquisition, it is the last chance for avoiding an acquisition that does not make sense. Conditions where deals should be terminated include distrust between acquirer and target management, a combination that threatens important customer relationships, or expectations that key employees will leave a combined firm. 48 Necessity often dictates involving only a few key people in acquisition planning. However, it is better to err on the side of including more people to ensure that as many potential problems are identified and potential solutions considered. Most firms do not efficiently use the time between announcement and completion, as optimism from successful negotiations delays planning for implementation. Indeed, a sense of accomplishment from bringing negotiations to a close when a deal is announced tends to shorten due diligence. However, taking more time for due diligence can improve success and avoid problems that hinder improved performance. 491 Positive result of taking additional time for planning is that unexpected information uncovered during due diligence will usually be negative, which in turn requires more time to evaluate its implications. 50 Focusing on the right things can also help firms make better use of the time available. This can be facilitated by establishing and communicating clear goals that can be used in making decisions, something that can make a difference in developing an executable plan. Integration planning typically focuses on the depth and speed of integration, but developing an integration plan begins with considering M&A goals. The goals for an M&A should have already been established. Thus, integration planning relates to the experiential learning stage of applying theories or models in relation to what has been observed. Stakeholder analysis represents an existing tool that applies to M&A integration, and the interests of stakeholders in achieving M&A goals can first be addressed during integration planning. 51 A stakeholder is any group that can affect or is affected by a firm's objectives. 52 Managers can be caught by surprise and have initiatives derailed by an unanticipated negative reaction from a stakeholder group. With effective stakeholder analysis, urgent concerns can be identified and addressed. A stakeholder group that should have already been considered when making a public bid is important target shareholders such as institutions or family holdings. By performing an analysis of additional stakeholder interests, an integration plan can balance the interests of different groups in pursuing M&A goals. Obvious additional stakeholders in an acquisition involve government regulators, customers, employees, and competitors. However, additional stakeholders, such as vendors or other business partners, exist and need to be considered. Once identified, it helps to prioritize stakeholders to better manage how to approach them. One method is to build a matrix for prioritizing stakeholders along dimensions of stakeholder power and interest. 53 Resulting stakeholder groups are shown in Table 3.1 and each is discussed in the following sections.